Welcome to the Freemasons Podcast, Big and Tall Edition, with your hosts, Worshipful Brother Joe.
And Worshipful Brother Ken.
And our special guest with us today is Worshipful Brother Mark Zuccerella. But before we get to that, Worshipful Brother Ken, tell us what the people are saying.
What the people are saying, let me tell you, Worshipful Brother Joe. So we've got a few new followers on Instagram. But before I get to that, we've got a couple new reviews.
Woo!
Yeah. I wanted to first go over one that we weren't able to see last time because it's from Australia, but I found a really good review aggregator where it pulls in the reviews from everywhere, which is great.
Cool.
This one's from Australia, and it's Hey Apple through Apple Podcasts. 5-star review. Came across this podcast as an EA and found it's great for when you just begin. To get an idea of what you're signing up for, currently in FC and doing my MM in a few months. Awesome. I look forward to finishing the older content and getting up to speed. So thank you, brother. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you for the listen.
We've got another one. It's a little critical. Should
All right.
we
Well,
read
you know what? We're not perfect.
Yeah. So plug your ears,
We're
Mark.
still some rough ashlers. So
So this is a 3-star review, and I don't mind reading it because it's honest, right? It's honest and it's fair. So 3-star review. This
and
is from
George
Brian.
isn't here to start throwing things.
Yeah,
in
George
and
would just
getting,
light them up, and I'm not going to do that.
By the way, if you didn't already figure it out, that's why it's the Big and Tall Edition, because George isn't here with us tonight.
I think all the boys and girls know.
I hope so.
Yeah. So he left a 3-star review, and he says, okay, thoughtful but too much cursing was the title. And he says, enjoy the concepts, but I just cannot listen to the podcast or too much cursing because of my kids. Oh. And also as a Freemason myself, I think it reflects poorly on our great fraternity. So, it's a fair opinion.
Yeah, it's a fair criticism. The language gets a little colorful at times.
To
Usually
that
it's
end,
George.
he also says, but to each his own, and think one could enjoy this podcast. So he still seems to recommend it, even though, look, hey, if you're only listening to podcasts when you're driving around in the car with your kids, I wouldn't listen to our podcast either because my kids haven't listened to the whole episode. That's for damn sure. Excuse my language.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's fair, and it's something we're always kind of working on, but we reach a certain target demographic, and we're not for everybody. We can't be everything to everyone.
And Raph hasn't been around to keep us in line lately.
That's true.
He hasn't. Usually, he used to message us right during the show, and we were getting a little unruly. He hasn't done that in a while. So.
And George doesn't have
Raph,
a filter.
do your job. Yeah, those are the F-bombs.
F-bombs.
Those are the F-bombs. Yeah, so there's a reason people knit those for us. And George has no filter, so it's really difficult to control him. He can't be constrained.
Like a header on a motorcycle.
Yep. Loud pipes save lives, boys and girls. So we had, let me take a look at mentions under the Freemasons Podcast Facebook page, because we usually don't do that because, George usually reads most of this stuff, and George doesn't have access to Facebook because he pissed off Facebook one too many times.
Yeah, and there's something new going on with the Facebook pages where it won't let me read the likes without linking my Instagram account to it, and I'm not linking my Instagram account to it.
I found a way around that.
Oh, okay.
So we had one from April 15th, which we missed, and I feel terrible about it. But I think we mentioned it on one of the episodes around that time anyway. But it was from Peter Daigle. And he said, Tuesday night, I passed my FC proficiency, waiting to be scheduled to be raised to the sublime degree of Master Mason that has been scheduled. And I think we may be in town for that.
Yeah, that's coming up beginning of August. I am planning on being in town for that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Haven't been up to New Hampshire for a while, so I'm glad you were able to pass your proficiency there, Brother Peter. I'm sorry we're late. We got another one from Noah Carlson that says, this is Noodletron from the review in the last episode. So that's my boy Noodletron there. And he said, thank y'all for having me. Visiting my lodge in Mineral Wells, Masonic Lodge, AF and AM, and he linked to them. On the second Tuesday of next month, wish me luck. So he is going to visit that lodge, possibly petition them. So best of luck to you.
Awesome. Good luck on your journey.
Good luck.
No, it's nice to see some of those stories where people credit us for kind of helping them dip their toe in the water and try to find out some more information about Masonry and ultimately knock on the door. So
it's weird, though. It's weird thinking that we have some influence on people. Like, that's a little terrifying.
It is kind of weird. That's why we've got to be very careful with some of the stuff we put out there. Yeah. But
how about Instagram likes, new followers?
Yeah, let's go with
we
some
got
Instagram.
a few. So we've got Isaiah Lillard, Diego Angelis, Hunter, just Hunter, YBN McFadden, London Regalia. Oh, wait, no, I already did those. Sorry. One Badge, One Union, Wes, Noah Carlson, and Alex the Viking Osler.
Whoa, Alex the Viking.
We got Garrett the Barbarian, and now
Vikings,
the
Barbarian.
Viking.
Yeah, we could put together a nice little wrestling stable with
I told you we have a niche demographic.
Yeah,
Mark.
we do. Hence the
be the
language
manager.
sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well,
So-
brother Ken, you want to lead us in our toast? To,
I would love to.
All right.
We
well,
probably should have practiced this with worshipful brother
Probably.
Mark before
He's
doing
familiar.
this, but
Familiar, but first time.
He's listened.
So just follow after.
We
us,
may have
that's
to
all.
do a few more and
No,
just
it's okay.
Okay.
get some practice.
Well, brethren, right hand to arms.
To arms.
Ready.
Ready.
Aim.
Aim.
Fire good fire, fire all. Together, brethren.
Oop.
Vivat, vivat, vivat.
Still better than Rocco.
Little weird if you're only used to table lodges. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
A
a little
little out of sequence there.
Almost choked myself. Well, knocked my
Oh.
headphones off.
And the bullet almost choked me. That's warm. That's been like sitting in the sunshine all
Yeah,
day.
I
man.
think
Yeah.
it was
Good
right there
God.
in the glare, but that's not bad.
Very nice. Very
Still a
nice.
good
I like
bourbon.
shot glasses.
Yes, those were gifts from worshipful brother Ken.
Those came from an artisan in London, not London, outside London,
Yeah.
in England.
Manchester?
Noticed,
A while
No
back.
G,
Somewhere
which
around
is,
there.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah, no G. It's a European style one. And he does military ones too for I forget which holiday it is. Now I feel stupid. But they have a special military themed holiday every year. It's not Veterans Day, but it's kind of like that
Yeah.
in the UK. And I think Australia celebrates the same day. And he, makes these things out of pewter.
That's nice.
Or puta, as the
Puta.
English
It's
tend to
puta.
pronounce it.
Harry Potter.
It's like my
Harry
tattoo.
puta.
9G tattoo.
That reminds me of that could be like if Benny Hill, God rest his soul, were still alive. I'm sure he would do a Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
Oh,
Or
absolutely,
Harry
yeah.
Puber.
I was just watching some of his old stuff the other night.
It's classic.
Smack the old bald guy in the head.
Who I thought was his father, and apparently it's not. I was
The old
lied
bald guy
to.
with the glasses?
I was told it was a long time ago that was his father.
It's not.
It's not.
I remember watching that on Channel 9, trying to hope
WOR.
get side boob or something.
You can say no, you're good. Oh,
You
trust
can-
me,
you
we've
can say
said
that
far
on the
worse.
show.
Far
Yeah.
worse.
And every now and then you did.
Every now and then, Hills Angels.
Yeah.
That's what his little dance troupe was called,
Yeah.
Hills Angels.
Channel 9, good Channel 9.
I like it.
Oh, that's pre 12 Joe Zanino. sitting there.
Yeah, it was a rough coming of age for us, for sure. So
All
hey,
right.
in other news, the stream is looking really good for a change. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think they finally fixed the internet cables outside, so we're
Oh,
good.
great.
Yeah, we think we were down a couple weeks ago, when they right before the Memorial Day parade. They're
Yeah, they were out
we
there
think they
working
were
the
doing
cables,
some
yeah.
work and took down one of the poles and,
Yep,
and messed up our Wi-Fi. So
it is
But-
what
Right
it
there.
is.
For God's sakes.
Yeah, there
Yep.
were like wires hanging right outside the window. We were like,
Yeah, those
wonder what
wires,
the problem is.
they do look kind of shiny and new right now
Yeah.
as I look out the window.
Yep.
So great. Well, let's get into it.
Thank you, EverSource or Comcast or whoever.
Or whoever, Spectrum. I think it might be Spectrum. I don't know.
No, it's not Frontier.
It could be.
Nope.
Shh. All right, worshipful brother Mark Zuccerella, welcome.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
No, thanks for inviting me.
You're very, very welcome. We've been trying to get you up for a little while now,
Yeah,
and the opportunity presented itself, so here we are. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your Masonic career, how long you've been a Mason, what chairs you've been in, any appendant bodies, things of that nature?
Well, I been about 6 years, going on my 7th year of my journey. I was worshipful brother last year at Ash Lassetuck, 142 in Easton, where
My mother lodge.
Mother Lodge. Worshipful brother was was a junior warden when I entered the craft. It's been a long, well, not long, sure, it was only 7 years, but it's been a good journey so far. Member of York Rite and Washington Council and Commandery down in Nortwold Wells with a
Oh,
bunch of
very
some
nice.
of our other brothers. Worshipful brother Darren Salhavy from our lodge also got me into York Rite. But my heart though is still with the Blue Lodge, and that's where I spend most of my time. It's hard to get down to do the York Rite because it's on a Thursday and we have it on a Wednesday. I also affiliated with Acacia Lodge 85 down in Greenwich.
Nice,
A bunch
very
of
nice.
great guys down there. Worship brother Mike Zabia. How are you? But good times. Yeah, no, Masonry has been great so far to me. Met a lot of good people and helped improve myself. Still have a good time
And currently sitting in the secretary's chair.
and currently, yes, the
Ooh,
secretary.
glutton for punishment,
oh, yeah.
too.
Well, It's because the previous secretary bailed.
Yeah, I don't know who that was. Yes.
In my defense, I made it very clear I was putting in 2 years, which
No,
I
you
did,
did.
which I would have only done one had you not been the master for the second term.
Yeah.
But I think I cleaned it up relatively well and turned it
No,
over
it's
in
great.
pretty good shape.
Good time. I mean, the grand view makes things a lot easier.
It makes it a lot
Oh, yeah.
easier. It's
Really
not as
easier.
scary as it
No.
used to be. Not even close.
Automate what you can so you don't burn
Yeah,
your
so I'm
secretaries
surprised
out.
it took so long to do that. But no, secretary's fun so far. I mean, I miss doing the the other, like the junior and senior deacon stuff. I'm actually KC85s have an EA degree in July 31st, Saturday.
Oh, cool.
So I'm the senior deacon. They asked me to do
Oh, good.
them, so that'll be fun.
Excellent.
Best
excellent.
position in that degree.
Yeah, so I look forward to that. But like you said, how you guys helped other brothers and on the internet find the craft. I think that it's nice when you can get involved with other people's journeys as well, from the beginning, whether it be as an EA, FC, or to the Sublime degree.
So what brought you to the door? What got you interested in Freemasonry, and ultimately what caused you to apply?
Well, it's one of those things. I've always been a team player type of guy, playing sports and stuff. But when I used to work in Florida, my partner was, come to find out, was a brother, and we worked midnights in a correctional facility together. So every night he'd be reading the Bible, and I'm like, "What are you reading the Bible for?" I mean, which is fine. I'm not saying reading the Bible's wrong.
Or was
but
it a ritual book?
Well, that's what it ended up being because it was
Nice.
big. But he was telling me about what being a Freemason and what it meant. Asked to join, however, I couldn't join because he was Prince Hall,
Oh, okay.
which was weird because we're talking about all this equality and brothers, and we went through the whole story of why the two different tracks, and especially was down in Florida. But I knew I wasn't really staying in Florida, so when I moved back home, back up to Connecticut, I was going to look into join, but I didn't really know anybody. It wasn't until I moved, been home about 15 years back from Florida, when I met a brother from Ashlaspetuck, Darren Salhavy, who brought me to the door. That's what it was. I think it's just something I always looked for. It's believing in something bigger than you are, and trying to make yourself better to make other people better is kind of how I've been my whole life. So it's,
Good fit then. A
yeah,
Mason
it
that
was
didn't
great.
know he was a Mason.
And I didn't do anything. I didn't read anything really, just what you see on TV. But
Yep.
none of that Dan Brown junk. But I was just always interested in it, seeing the old people wearing the ring, and always wondering what happened behind the door.
What's the big secret?
Yeah, what's the big secret?
It's funny because worshipful brother Sohavi was also he was on my investigation committee. He was the one that made the first phone call to me, and he had known my brother. So I'm like, oh, I know that name. So
What
There's
I like
always-
about it too is I'm really into esotericism and the philosophy of just any kind of philosophy, and that's what I like. That's my take on Freemasonry.
yeah, because you and I have had a lot of conversations
Yeah.
about that esoteric side of things.
Esoteric side, yeah.
That's Joe's thing for sure.
Yeah.
He's way into it. And there's always like one brother in every lodge that I think is like that kind of de facto brother that's brought in more Masons than anyone else,
Yeah.
right? Like I don't think I've actually signed. Well, I might have signed petitions, but I've never like brought somebody to the door of Masonry. I've been involved in a lot and mentored a lot of guys, but I've never actually like taken somebody from work or a friend and had them ask me, and then I'll be the top line signer on your petition.
Yeah.
But there's these brothers that always seem to be those guys,
Yeah.
right? And then you got brothers like most worshipful brother. Now I'm blanking on his name. Cowboy hat.
Tom Maxwell.
No,
First.
Tom Maxwell never wore a cowboy hat.
He's from Texas, though.
He is
I'm
from
sure he did
Texas.
at some point.
Yeah, at one point in
Bob
his
wears
life,
a
yes.
cowboy hat.
Marshall Robinson.
Oh yeah,
Marshall,
Marshall.
Right,
Marshall.
yeah,
so
Marshall
most worshipful brother Marshall probably raised most of Connecticut, right? Because he
well,
does
he
so
actually
many
raised
second
me,
halves. Yeah,
'cause,
me too. Yep.
Charged at a police degree.
Yep. Yeah, he was heavily involved in the state police degree team. So there's always like these Masons that are just kind of like mainstays in your
Yeah.
jurisdiction, and just brought up that thought to me.
So our standard question of everybody that comes up here. So you show up for your EA degree. You've probably told your wife, "Hey, I'm going out.
Going
Don't know what I'm doing. Don't know what's gonna happen." Don't know when I'll be home.
Don't know if I'll be home.
You get there,
Yeah.
and somebody takes you to the preparation room. You're all dressed up nice in your suit, and somebody says, "Okay, get undressed."
Yeah, it was kind of weird.
And put on this thing. What's going through your head at that time?
Well, it was just, somebody said something to me downstairs when we were having dinner. Other than make sure you have Q-tips in your pocket.
That was probably me.
That sounds like a joke. Yeah.
That's my
That was
typical lie,
definitely
which
a
I
joke.
learned from Right Worshipful Brothers Ray Collette and Right
Yeah.
Worshipful Brother Rob Kerwin.
I don't remember who said it, but they just said, you might hear this or you might know this or be worried, but just don't worry and fear no danger.
Yeah.
So when I said, okay, I mean, what are you going to do to me? I mean,
How
I
bad
used,
could
I
it
used to
be?
work in a correctional facility, for God's sake,
Right,
so I'm not
yeah.
too worried about that.
This is why Mom said always wear clean underwear.
However,
Yeah.
it is kind of weird when someone says take your clothes off, and then, especially the individual who did it, Brother Herb, big,
Oh,
very
God.
large, tall man who was very matter of fact and funny guy. But when he says that to you, you're like, what?
He's built like the shoe fetish guy from Mindhunters, if you've seen that. Who is that serial killer? That
I have not seen that.
You know
Dude,
the
I
guy
haven't
I'm
seen
talking
any
about,
movies
right?
that you guys
That's
ever
probably
talk
a
about.
great Netflix show,
Great Netflix
Mindhunters. It's about the formation of the FBI as like serial killer.
Task Force.
Yeah,
Task Force back in the day when profiling was a brand new thing.
Okay.
But it was a little not off-putting, almost type of thing.
Yeah.
But I rolled with it, and I was just, you know what, I'm here. Let me roll with it, see what happens, see where this takes me. And I kind of opened up to it. Plus, I'm not afraid to take my clothes off.
Figuratively,
That's the other thing. Quiet. You're going to say something.
I got questions for you later. Don't you worry.
But no, it was a little strange, in a room with strangers. I mean, other than Darren, he's the only one I knew, really,
Right,
that I knew
right.
at that time.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what, I'm in it. I went in right in the deep end.
So you go through the degree. Obviously, it's it makes a little more sense to you afterwards as
Yeah.
to how you were prepared and whatnot. What were your initial thoughts after the degree?
The thing, and I'm seeing in my head right now, was when I was brought to light. That comes into my head, my mind's eye a lot, especially when if I'm doing something at work or if I'm stressed or if I have to try and recalibrate myself. It was that moment when he actually was on my right hand shoulder, and at the time the worshipful farmer.
Oh yeah,
And,
yeah.
Or everyone else was standing in front of me. I remember Joe because he was standing there with this big shit-eating grin on his face.
Because I'm the glory and beauty of the day. I was the
Yeah,
junior
right.
warden.
Yeah. Was waiting for his Q-tips.
Like blinking my eyes, you couldn't see, and then all of a sudden seeing that, and that moment right there hit me. I said, "Yeah, I made the right choice."
Yeah.
And it was right from there that this is why I've been looking for with regard to something deeper than that's not religious. It's not that kind of thing. I'm a lot of team player, played football my whole life through college and whatnot, and great friends. But that moment was when I realized, yeah, this is worth it. This is something that I know I'm going to be involved in for the rest of my life.
Is it true that you were a fringe member of the Mean Street Posse?
Nah, my brother. How about my brother John? Knew all those guys. They're older than I am, but yeah, my brother John was friends with them.
They were wrestlers. All
Okay.
friends of Shane
Right.
McMahon.
And I,
that grew
for
up
the
in-
longest time before we moved to Florida, Pete Gas, if you're out there, how you doing?
Hey, I worked with Pete Gas at Enterprise Rent-A-Car way back, and I just started following on Twitter.
Yeah.
Really?
Pete Gas, yeah.
Huh.
We had
Gas
a different
mask.
we had a different name for him back then.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
I won't mention it because now he's all big and jacked and can kill me.
Oh, this is the big and tall edition.
This
Big
is the
and tall.
big
We're
and
talking
tall
about
edition.
a lot of big men lately for some
Gas.
reason. I don't know
Look him
why.
up. He's a big guy.
Yeah, he is big.
No, but that was my thing I took out of it was that how when I was that day I was figuratively and literally brought to light.
No, that moment's kind of burned in my mind
Yeah.
too, right? Because literally and figuratively, you're being brought to light. It's a
Yeah.
little disconcerting, and it's like your eyes are adjusting, and then all of a sudden you see all these guys
Yeah.
around. All eyes are on you.
In tuxedos.
You're supposed, in tuxedos, and you're barely dressed, and you're like,
Yeah.
well, what am I supposed to do now? It's a little terrifying, and it makes you
Yeah.
feel a little humble and vulnerable, man. And that's what the creators of the degree
Yeah.
intended. so that you're more apt to listen to the lessons of the degree and really understand it. So,
And that's why during COVID we had the opportunity to have an EA degree, but with the rules that had to have happened due to the pandemic, I didn't want to have our brother our initiate go through that, because I think that moment is what
yep.
was needed. You know, everything else fine, but that moment with everybody around, I don't think it would be the same.
No, that's part of what makes masonry masonry.
Yeah.
I think I agree with you.
So then, if I recall correctly, your fellow craft degree you were farmed out for, right? Was that done at Washington?
No, I did everything at the did everything at Ashland.
Oh, okay. I must have been traveling for that one. But then your Master Mason degree was the police degree team.
At the lodge.
So
We
tell
had
us.
some visitors that day too. We had,
Yes. So tell us a little bit about that experience, of what that was like to not only be part of a fraternity where you now have new brothers, but then you have like a brotherhood within the brotherhood.
Yeah.
What was that experience like?
Well, again, I didn't going into all the degrees. I didn't do any research. I didn't do any reading. Didn't go on the internet. So I went in blind, and it was kind of offset. You know, again, off-putting, I should say, when you're blindfolded. And at a moment, I thought I was going to have to, get busy, so
Yeah.
to speak.
Yeah.
But,
Which in your profession, obviously, you went through the police degree team. You're
Yeah.
a law enforcement officer by career.
So I didn't, it's not nice to having people, not knowing what's going on, and especially with what happens during the ritual. So, but afterward, again, now I didn't realize. I thought, I just thought everybody was a Mason. I didn't know that we had all these different layers, and we have the police degree team. We had there's a scouting degree apparently, and
There's the colonial fellow craft
degree, and,
team.
and all these different degrees, all teams doing the same thing for whatever speciality someone's in. And again, that was great, because it's like, if I didn't know anybody else, at that point when you become a Master Mason, you know everybody in your lodge at least, but it opens you up and meets you to more people who aren't necessarily from your lodge. Like when we did the farm degree all those years, it was nice seeing all the brothers come from throughout the area. But with the police degree, and I'm sure it is with the colonial degree team and the others that are out there, it takes brothers from all over the state.
Yep.
So you get to meet different people and talk to them that way.
Yeah.
That was neat.
And they travel far too. They travel outside their district,
Yeah.
right? Some of these guys come from northwestern Connecticut, northeastern
Yeah, there was a
Connecticut,
few, yeah.
down by the shore. Like it's a good way to meet new brothers.
Yeah.
So now you're a Master Mason. How long before they push you into line? And was it push? Were you voluntold? Was it something that you're like, yeah, I want to do this?
No, it was
next year?
The next no, no, but I was always helping. I was the steward thing. I still am the steward. I forgot. I'm always cleaning. I just can't stop
Always
doing
a steward.
that. Always a steward. Forever. But no, it was pretty much right away, which is fine. And I think it should be right away. You should start the journey right away. Whether you progress as fast, that's up to you, and it's up to the brothers in the lodge. But when you're involved in the state of communication, and you're involved and you're in a chair, it's like you're being included.
Yep.
The one thing I've noticed sitting in the secretary's desk is a little different than sitting in one of those in the east or the south or the west, where you kind of feel less involved because you're doing the back end stuff, and no one really wants to do that anyway.
Right. But that's like the most important stuff.
Yeah.
And
They keep it
there's like a
running.
lot of power that comes with that. We
Yeah.
always, past secretaries always joke around that it's the most powerful seat in the lodge, even more
But
so
ritual-wise, you're kind of just sitting there. And
Kinda, yeah. I mean, the
Looking at the
master kind of
counting the
calls the
tiles.
shots, but if
Yeah.
you as a secretary don't do it, it's like you're kind of bringing things to a grinding
Yeah,
halt. Like,
exactly.
you've always got that kind of holding over,
So whether we get involved as a steward right away or something, I think it's important that if you're a newly raised brother, should be involved in something like that. Maybe you can, whether it's 5 stewards, 6 stewards, but
right.
it makes you work and you're included. When
Yeah.
you do that, people want to be involved.
You're putting something into the fraternity,
Yeah.
and then you feel like, well, I should probably hang out with these guys.
Yeah, you're not just being a sponge,
Yeah.
sitting there listening to a business meeting, which we don't do that anymore at Ashland. Like, by the way.
You don't ever conduct business?
Very briefly.
Very
Oh,
brief
right.
business.
The last 2 years, we've been. It's all about education.
Okay, cool.
We do things within rules, but our business meetings business part of it is very, very short.
Yeah, I'm behind that. That's not going to make anybody interested unless you're really into like parliamentary procedure and like that's your thing. There are very few people, I think, that's why they join Masonry, is to like watch the proceedings of the lodge.
No, exactly.
Yeah, and when we get into your year as master, which was a very unique year, I'll get into some of the specifics of things that you did. But before we go there, so you did not skip a chair, correct? You went through.
No, I didn't skip. No, I started from steward and
What was your favorite chair?
senior deacon.
Senior deacon.
That was my favorite chair because doing the middle chamber was. I want to do it again.
Yeah, once you get that
I
bug,
want to do
it's
it again. I want to do the full one, the full
the long form.
long form. But nobody wants to do that.
Joe
No one
does.
wants to sit through it, watch it.
Oh,
I
yeah,
should say.
yeah,
I do the short form. I actually enjoy the short form because I think
okay.
it gives them enough information
Without
where it's
boring
not
them
too
too.
much and you don't lose them, but it gives them enough where you could then say, "Here's the long form. Go read it."
Yeah.
And it gives them
Yeah.
enough thirst. It has them take a dive deeper into it. That was my favorite chair as well.
Yeah.
So then, because of that, I'm going to guess that I likely know what your favorite degree is.
Which one?
Fellowcraft?
Middle chamber part, yes, but my favorite degree from beginning to end is
Yeah.
entered apprentice.
Mm.
That one is, it's funny. I joke around. I still say I'm stuck on what I'm learning to try to do. I haven't developed yet beyond my passions, but
You're still chipping off the
still
rough
chipping
edges
off
of
the
your
rough edges.
ashlar.
But the EA degree, I think, the middle chamber part, the FC degree, is probably the best. But the overall, I think the overall
Beginning to end.
is the EA. That's where really you get everything you need, and all you have to do is just refine it, moving forward from that.
Yeah, it's definitely the most memorable degree.
Yes.
Out of the three that I went through,
Maybe that's why maybe that's what it is for me too. Is because, like I said, that image is in my head.
Yeah.
But no, the senior deacon is like the cool. I think the coolest thing going.
It's always been my favorite chair.
Yeah.
It absolutely is mostly because the middle chamber and that's the fellowcraft degree is my favorite degree, and a lot of that is just stuff that was coming up in our lodge. Ray Collette.
Yeah.
He is our. We joke around. He is our senior deacon emeritus.
Mm-hmm.
And for a long time, he was the only one that knew the middle chamber. And it's like,
we only have a couple brothers that do the long form middle chamber, and that's it. Like we don't do the short form, but I mean there aren't any other brothers that do it. It's never been like tradition to have the senior deacon, whoever's the sitting senior deacon, confer that. So.
Oh.
Seeing
To only
Ray,
have a couple
we've
brothers.
tried to do that in Ashlar Aspetuck, but there's been some brothers that just couldn't get it, and not everybody can memorize things.
Yeah, no, it's a
not.
lot. It's a lot.
But Right Worshipful Brother Ray Collette was the guy that you call him up like the day before. Ray, I need somebody to do the middle chair. Okay, I'll be there. It might not be as pretty as I want it to be, but I can do it. And
He has a presence. So
yeah,
if you know,
he definitely.
He's got the presence.
I mean,
and
that's part of it, is just having gravitas when
Yeah.
you speak, and like, bam, you're a good ritualist.
But when he was, when I was senior deacon, he was treasurer, and Rob Kerwin was master. So I was caught in that triangle, and you know exactly what I mean by that. But those two were a big influence on me in my year as senior deacon, and really kind of taught me the ropes of that role. So that's why I agree with you. To me, it's almost like you can command the floor like the master, but you
Yeah.
don't have the responsibility. of it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like high school.
Yeah.
You think it's really
Yeah.
hard, but it's really not.
It's like
Yeah.
it's like being a
Yep.
toady to some bully. You can do whatever you want because the bully's
Exactly.
got your back. But,
Yeah.
yeah. No, and it's
EA's
funny in our lodge having Ray say you did a great job in the middle chamber. It was kind of like, oh yeah.
Yeah, that's.
That's the praise you're looking for. When you're
Or
doing it.
what's even better from Ray is he'll tell you, "Hey, you did a good job." But if you did a really good job, he'll be like, "Hey, you missed that word."
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like he'll find the one
Yeah.
thing to
Yeah.
try to like nitpick it because
Right.
that's how you know, like, damn, he had to search really hard and to find that one
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
that one imperfection.
So it is high praise when you get down to.
So, yeah,
It's a very
absolutely.
strange
That's
kinda
just
way.
that weird older brother kind
Weird
of
older
thing.
brother way.
Even though he's younger than us.
EA is my favorite degree to confer. I will say that. Out of all the degrees to be involved in or to run as a master, the EA I've always been enamored with because it's the candidate's first introduction into masonry, right? So you as a ritualist have a duty to make a good first impression.
Yeah.
You're only going to get one.
It's only that one time.
They may not be back if you know, like if something goes horribly awry, it might influence their their desire to continue on with masonry.
And we've had some, candidates become at the EA. We did it, I would say, very well enough, and then put it on well enough where they didn't come back, not because it was bad, or it's because of the gravity of what they thought they were getting into. Oh, I thought this was just something you guys
like
meet once a
social
month.
club where we
social
drink.
club,
Right.
and
I thought we were the Rotary.
And,
Nothing
exactly.
against the Rotary. Nothing against the Rotary. The Rotarians are great people. They do great work. They're not Scientologists.
But they realized, oh my gosh, this is something a little more serious than I was getting into.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is fine because, man, but hey, they're brothers. They can come back whenever they and finish their journey whenever they'd like.
Yeah, and I mean, in a way, like you want Masons to be Masons, right? If they're not cut out for it, or they don't, we're not in it just for numbers. Right?
Nah, I'm a big quality guy. I'm gonna give them education one day where we were talking about just that. What really Masonry
Quality
is
versus
and
quantity.
Yep.
I'd rather be in a lodge with 3 brothers who are head in it and 100% live the brotherly love and live being a Mason than 50 belly Masons or guys just coming for dinner.
Ring chasers.
Yeah,
Ring wraiths.
George had a name for him, like title chasers or something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was.
But no, I'd rather just hang out with the 3 guys, the 3 principal officers, if I had to.
So you go through the chairs.
Mm-hmm.
December 2019 comes.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big election.
Big election.
You're voted in as worshipful master of the lodge. Nice installation in January.
Yeah.
Stated communication January. Stated in February 2020. And,
Yeah, I know.
COVID hits.
COVID hits.
We're shut down for March, April, May. So tell us a little bit about how that felt. And specifically tell us, if you don't recall it as well as I'll do, I'll certainly fill in the blanks for you. But you did something very unique that other lodges weren't doing to keep the craft together and to keep the lodge together. And it actually ended up turning out to be better than actual lodge.
Yeah.
But walk us through the mindset of what it was like to be master when COVID hit. What went through your head and what ultimately sparked that idea that you had that actually kept us going through COVID?
Well, it was kind of like a punch in the gut because, we had a lot of our brothers move. So we don't really have we have a retention problem, not because of, people not being involved in masonry. They literally are moving. Or have an illness that took them away. So, what was supposed to be a rebuilding year, which started off great. We had 2 great, I thought, Masonic educations, especially the February one because our guest couldn't make it last minute, and then we picked up on it, but that was probably the better education than January. And then when we were told when we couldn't meet, it was like, so that's the last thing our lodge needed.
Right.
Because this was supposed to be the year I was joking around in December, saying that, if you guys remember To Kill a Mockingbird, our lodge looked like the Boo Radley house. It was just white and dirty and like that building over there. Not saying the building's bad,
But really old.
No,
siding.
you can talk smack about
it
that
was
building.
scary.
Nobody knows what
and
it
there
is.
were
It's
bats
cool.
in our cupola and everything. And
That window's wide open over in that place across the street. So there's some bats up in that cupola too.
So it was supposed to be like the coming out of our coming out and returning to what the Masons used to be in Easton.
And you actually made up challenge coins with the motto.
Order from chaos.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because that's what it was.
That was your goal for that year.
And it just then that came, it was like I said, it was a punch in the stomach, and then we couldn't do things, and you had the whole argument, why can't we meet and all that stuff. So
Right. Yeah.
we didn't meet in March or April, but I said screw it, we can be outside. Can't be inside. Let's meet outside. We're grown adults. We're not meeting as in a stated.
Right. You're not
We're
communicating.
socially. We're not
masonically.
communicating.
Yeah,
It's our
sounds-
building. We
Yep.
pay for the taxes. We
Yep.
pay the upkeep. We're going, and we did basically fireside chats.
Yeah, I remember Joe talking about that. That's a great idea.
And we had more people come to the outdoor fireside chats than I would say in the last couple years in our lives.
Yeah, and we definitely had more visiting brethren.
visiting
Once
brethren.
word started to spread that
And
we
that's
were
good-
doing this.
That's good data. That tells you something.
yeah, because people wanted something.
Something.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Also that. Yeah. The
I mean,
context of the situation.
they wanted-
People wanted socialization.
They still wanted, but the brothers wanted socialization with
Yeah.
brothers.
brothers.
Because it was a hard time. It was a difficult time. There was a lot of uncertainty.
You can trust each other.
You could
know,
trust
you're
each
not
other.
Joe
You know you
Public.
could rely on them. And, and I'll talk about it a little bit because, the Mark's a pretty modest guy and doesn't, that's just the way he is.
After 5 beers, I won't be.
Yeah, exactly. He's not gonna
But
be so honest.
to me, it was fantastic. It was great. So and this whole order from chaos and returning back to your roots and these basic things, when we talked about in some of our apocalyptic episodes and the grid going down and whatnot,
Yep.
we were kind of in a similar situation where it's like, okay, we got to strip this down to its
Back to
purest
beginning.
form.
Yeah.
We're going to set up a fire.
Yep.
We're going to set up some chairs 6 feet apart.
The original social network.
Yeah.
And
We just talked.
we would bring up a topic and we would sit around. Yes, we'd have a few libations.
You can't pontificate without a few libations.
Perhaps there were some
Be honest.
cigars here and there.
Cigars here and there.
But it was a bunch of good men sitting around a light source talking about Freemasonry, how it applies in the modern world, how it applied in the current situation, what it really means, what's the purpose of Freemasonry. There were a lot of great topics, and like I said, we started to draw a crowd, a good amount of people, and these conversations would go. You have a regular lodge meeting, starts at 7:30. By 9 o'clock, people are getting antsy. They want to get out of there. 9:30, it's over. People are gone.
Yeah.
Yep.
People were hanging around till 11:30 at
Yeah.
night. As long as we had wood for the fire and the fire
Yeah,
was
it
still going,
Yeah, and
people would show up.
Straight up back to caveman days.
Yeah.
Like
And
that's
the-
what,
Yeah.
it used to
what
be
was
about.
good about it was in January we did some motions to do our business within a budget. Present everyone a budget. So from May to December, we met every month except for the 1st of March we didn't meet.
Right.
We met.
But we ended up meeting July and August, so
well,
we
met
still
July,
ended
so
up
we
meeting 10 months out of the year.
10 months out of the year.
And you still need to pay the bills and stuff.
And our
so,
business was done.
Yeah.
Our business was done. The lodge is still there. Our Grand Lodge obligations
Assessment
were
and
done.
everything, Yeah.
We weren't violating any
violating
Grand Lodge
any
edicts or
rules.
state
If
laws.
your bylaws say you can do it,
Yeah.
you can do it.
But yet we were meeting and having 3 to 4 hour discussions on what what our lodge thought people wanted to become Masons. And when we had a lot of non-Masons show up, we still
Yes, we
discussed
even
that
had-
stuff, but not.
Circumspect, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
you weren't talking about degrees. And
Yeah,
like,
but we were just talking
specifics
about, like,
and-
I guess, the philosophical, esoteric stuff,
Yeah.
and
That's a great idea, man. I wish
people came.
wish we had done that.
And we
too.
actually got
I wish I had gone.
our newest EA started. He came to one of those chats.
Yeah.
Right. Mark Baylog came to one of those. We had some brothers bring their high school age sons,
Yep.
late teens.
Is he an active
To
guy
kinda-
now after
Yes.
having that experience?
Yep.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
mean, there's something to be said there.
And we had
So-
other brothers who are talking about affiliating with us.
Yeah.
But
But
no,
yeah.
it was great. And then from there, we still had our focus of giving back to the town because people. It is true whether as long as you do it for the right reasons, people like to reciprocate.
Right.
So part of it was give back to the town. You know, we're looking to build ourselves, and we were doing it. We were having our own Masonic stuff with the campfire. We had our big town party. Within COVID rules, we had just under 300 people because we didn't want to push the 400 limit.
Yeah.
And we had a big town party in the middle of in September, in the middle of COVID.
Yeah.
And everybody was loving life.
Reputation. It's all about building your local lodge's reputation in the community.
And the other piece of that too is as part of your year, community just becoming a larger part of the community was something that we were focusing on. And when we talked about the lodge being the Boo Radley House, it's one of the things that we went to the trustees and got some money. We're like, hey, we want to re-side the building. Well, what happened was the gutters came down in a storm and ripped off half the sidings. And we're like, well, we might as well just do it all now.
We kind of have to now.
Which was actually a blessing.
Yeah.
But we went from this old white sterile building up on a hill to we actually made it blue. So it's our Blue Lodge is a blue lodge with new shutters and a red door. And we lit it up at night. So now it was like we were getting comments from the community like, "Oh my God,
like, I didn't know there was a lodge."
They didn't know. They
didn't
know.
Now your eyes dry.
They thought it was empty. They thought it was an abandoned building.
Yeah, that haunted place up on the.
Well, it is.
People,
It is haunted. That's a whole other.
Used our lodge people were using our lodge as a place to do what we were doing. The people from Easton, and we're in the community again, and
That's awesome.
in talks doing our Easton Town Party September. Again, they didn't let us close the road last year because of in Easton it is a farming community, so a lot of apples and stuff.
So you should be able to close.
We're closing the road now. Talking to the
Nice.
first selectman, so we can get more food trucks and more other than the live music, other stuff for the families, and people are looking forward to it. The brothers looking forward to the Masonic education. The community is looking forward to our community outreach.
Win-win-win.
And we went from dire. We're not out of the.
Yeah, we were dire straits. It was the word phrase that came to my mind. Absolutely.
We're not out of it yet, but we will. We have a new renter.
Yeah, you can turn the corner for sure.
We turned the corner, and we just gotta just keep it going and not revert back. Because I think as a craft. The craft as a whole, we tend to be within.
Right.
And, we are a secret society, allegedly, right? So because of that. But no one says we can't be out in the open but still keep our secrets.
Not at all. In fact, it's encouraged. Grand lodges and most grand jurisdictions encourage you to be part of the community. I mean, charity is one of the greatest tenets of the fraternity.
Yeah.
You can't be charitable without people knowing what you're about and who you are.
True.
So this is in September, this party?
Again? Yeah, September, I don't have my calendar. I think it's September 18th. I don't know why I have to keep looking at the calendar.
Well, you sold me. I'll be there.
It's on if you go to our Facebook page, it's the thing that's pinned to the top. The website's coming on. I don't know who the band talent is, but one of our brothers, Steve Tramposh, is really involved in the music industry, and we'll have the bands last year were great.
Yeah, the towns love them. One of them was called the Brotherhood, right?
Brotherhood, yeah.
Oh, that's freaking
apparently
awesome.
has a pretty good following in the area
following.
too.
Interesting.
Voracious Brewery was there, and they'll be there again.
This is sounding better and better by the minute. I'll be there.
Perhaps there'll be a live podcast event.
Yeah.
We can think about doing that.
We do have the technology to do that now, amazingly enough, thanks to our sponsors.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you, sponsors.
And by sponsors, I mean
by
Patreon
our patrons that subscribe to us on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. You can join Patreon and get access to Patreon exclusive content. Which you'll also get access to our Discord channels, which last I checked were about 7 or 8 of different ones that were on there.
There's like 10 now.
There could be. There's a lot. There's some live chat that we pop in every once in a while, and you'll get that elusive gold tone Freemasons podcast pin. Also want to give a shout out to Designs by Susie, who has recently made the Freemasons podcast NWO style T-shirts that are now available in various colors. So we had Gangrene. Go ahead and get theirs in green. We haven't had a red wolf pack one yet, but it could be coming. But check them out. But Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And while you're on, if you're watching right now, hit that thumbs up, give us a like, and please subscribe to the podcast.
Yeah. And review us if at all possible. Apple reviews on Stitcher, whatever, Spotify. Those reviews really help us. It increases our search rank. hey, speak out to us if there's something that you don't like, if there's something you want us to change. You know, you can be critical. That's okay. We're men. We can take it. Just don't be an a-hole. You know, follow rule number.
Brother Josephus' 2 rules.
Yeah.
Don't be an a-hole. Mind your business.
Mind your business, but also give us good feedback.
Yes.
Hey, Joe.
Yes.
People are talking to us.
Oh, are they?
I
What
totally
are they saying?
forgot that we're live streaming and that people like interact.
Oh,
with us.
I totally
But
forgot.
anyway,
Good. Why don't you read those comments and then
Wow.
we'll shift. And then I know before we go, there's a certain little guy to my right here that's chomping at the bit. He's got a couple questions.
Can you fill these up or no?
Yeah, we can fill
oh yeah, he can do that.
All right, good.
So in the meantime, we got brother James Delaney. Good evening, brothers. Elliot.
By the
Tuck,
way, you
morning,
and George
evening,
always
brothers.
put an L in there.
I know it's not. I just do it because I thought maybe he didn't want his real name used, so I just do it the way George does. I
okay.
don't know.
Thank you.
I'm just trying to be more like Dad. All right. Josh McCrae says good afternoon. Worshipful Brother Joe Schultz. Hi, all. Josh McCrae, happy St. John's Day. It is St. John's Day, my brothers, so happy St. John's Day to all. Daniel Valdez, good afternoon. Joe Schultz, hey, Mark, for as little as $5 a month, you too can expand your Masonic experience. Come to the dark side. Hashtag GG. Gangrene.
That's
Gangrene.
That's a little subset of people.
Yeah, so that's Joe, Worshipful Brother Joe is
Not
one of our
jet-related, is it?
Discordians.
I'm a Dolphin fan. It's not jet related, is it?
No, it's
Oh,
not.
good.
Gangrene is like a weird, bizarre
forget how
group
they
within
got that.
Discord. I think because they're mostly military.
I thought it was
Green
because they were like
fatigues, I don't know.
some kind of bacteria that would slowly eat away at
like
the
a
podcast.
plague upon this
Plague.
earth.
Yeah, something like that.
Something
All
like
right. I'll hook you up, Joe. I'll look you up.
that. Worshipful Brother Joe also says Discord is exactly like a correctional facility.
Actually, we need a corrections officer
We
in
really
there,
do.
I think.
We really could use one. Let's see. Antoine Worrell, EA, if done right, is incredible. I wholeheartedly agree, brother.
True.
And James Devaney says Susie does great work, which is also 100% true. So, oh God,
Oh, God, he's up.
freaking puppets out.
I got some questions for him.
Sure.
So I hear you're a cop.
Maybe.
Is it true that your cop buddies call you the dentist?
Dentist. What's that?
Because you like to do all the cavity searches?
Cavity search,
classy.
search with you with a certain object.
I think
How's that?
Joe's already
Promises,
searching.
promises. I've been bad. Arrest me.
Yeah. Throw
I
out
got
the
another
window.
question for you.
Yeah, Joe.
Do you have a quota?
Quarter? I got a dime.
No, I need a quota. I gotta make a phone call. Ah!
That's enough, Puppet George. That's,
my
that's,
God.
that's
Down,
come on.
Puppet George.
That's like more dad joke-ish than
Yeah,
I'm used
he-
to.
No
Well,
such thing as quotas. How's that?
Yeah,
That's-
cops
that's-
don't have quotas.
Puppet George. He's
Puppet George.
like- yeah, at least he didn't ask his usual one about
No.
if you had something on your shoulder.
No.
No, usually he's quite
He's-
profane.
Yeah, well, those were the after hours, Puppet
Yeah.
George.
Oh, that's
interviews.
true. Yeah, there's Patreon
There was,
exclusives.
yeah, Patreon exclusives that you can get access to for as little as $5 a month.
They're still up there too.
Yes, they are. And if you're there, you'll also. I always have to plug it. The one of the episodes that originally aired live that we had to take down.
Oh
The
That's
Christmas episode, Santa and his bountiful sack.
Yeah. It was like Santa's Revenge or
Santa's
something. I forget what we
Revenge.
called it. It was something like that. Santa's.
Yeah,
Santa's
so
Santa.
a lot of good stuff on Patreon.
Yeah.
So that was a nice little
Yeah, George.
kind of cameo by Puppet George there. He's been away for a little while,
Yeah, we
but
don't see him too
we had a
often anymore.
request. Hey, brothers, before we wrap this up, I do want to do one other toast here.
Oh, I need more drink.
Okay. Yeah, you're gonna have to fill me up. Thank you, brother.
All right, you got it, brother.
In the meantime, we've got Joshua Pankey. Hey, brothers from Mississippi. Hey, brother.
Oh, Mr. Hello, brother.
How you doing?
Do they call him Hanky?
I don't think so. I think he's just Panky.
Surprised George didn't ask that.
Hey,
Yeah, George's here. George ain't here now, man.
Yeah, so once again, welcome to the big and tall edition of
Big
the
and tall.
Freemasons podcast
tall.
because George's here.
Stand erect.
All right, so I want to give a shout out to worshipful brother Greg Schultz,
Yes.
who had I'll just say he had a procedure done earlier this week, and he's doing as well as can be expected. If you go to our Freemasons podcast page or community page, you'll see that we have a link up to a GoFundMe page for him to help out with his current situation. But I know he had some stuff going on. I actually believe it was today. So I just want to give a shout out to worshipful brother Greg Schultz, and I'd like to give him a toast. So, brothers, right hand to arms.
To arms.
Ready.
Ready.
Aim.
Aim.
Fire, good fire, fire all. Together, brothers.
Vivat, vivat, vivat. So that out of sync toast was just for you, worshipful sir. We hope you get better soon. Seriously, we're pulling for you, brother.
Hey, but on a positive note, we had no mispronunciations on this episode.
Oh, amazing.
Amazing.
It's like we're adults.
We had like no fumbling over words or
And to go with
struggling reading or anything like
the
that.
individual who was upset about the swearing. Only a couple
Yeah, I think we did pretty well with that.
We didn't yell at him. I think we were very civil, all things considered.
Civil.
Yeah, George would have lost his you-know-what.
Yeah, I don't think we swore at all.
I don't think we had one. There might have been a damn in there, here and there.
We had
But
an A
shit
word or something.
I said boobies.
Yeah,
you said side boob, but that's okay. That's not really.
That's not a swear. You can say that on
Anyone not
TV.
say
You know
the word
what?
Booby and not smile.
If a father is out driving with his sons, we're doing him a service by mentioning side boob, because
Side
then
boob.
we're like facilitating a conversation.
Yes,
that
right.
we
Right.
have.
It's a coming of age. It's just
Like, can you have two boys?
We're helping. Yes, I do.
If you're driving in the car with him and they're like, "Hey, Dad,
Yeah.
what's he talking? What's side boob?" I'm like, "Well, sons, let me tell you."
Now, here's another one for
Let me
the
tell you a
conversation.
story.
Camel toe.
That's
That's when they get a little bit older. They gotta be like
Well,
teenagers.
Now
for
the
that
son's asking the
conversation.
father, "What's that, Dad?"
or if it's larger, it's a moose knuckle. But
Yeah.
before we go down that path,
Wow, we already
and
went
get
down that
another
path.
get another bad review. And it's it's like
We tried really hard. We waited till the end before we started throwing
Yeah.
words down.
Well,
So.
you have to keep your reputation up.
Yeah, it's mostly Mark's fault.
yeah, always Mark's fault. All right, brothers, what do you say? You want to wrap it up?
Yeah, I mean we're pretty much right at an hour, so we did fairly well.
Cool. All right, brothers.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
It's our
Fun.
pleasure.
Very fun.
Thank you for coming.
So you appreciate you having. Oh, I got to tell one other story before you go.
No.
One quick story, because it's my favorite Mark Zuccerella story, and it's a short one. It's maybe 3 years ago.
Okay.
I am the director of the farm degree.
Director. What is
So
that?
I am in
We don't have
charge,
one of
because this
those.
is the farm
the
degree.
hat and the little horn thing you talking about.
I was the Harold Hecuba of the
Really?
farm
Okay.
degree. So the director is in charge of getting the ground set,
Okay, so it's like
because it's a degree where you could potentially have 100 people show up,
like the event
on a farm.
manager.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
all
there's
right.
as
Wow.
well
Yeah,
as
you do need those. Yeah.
you're pulling in ritualists from all over the state, so trying to get them together, trying to put on a good degree.
Make sure they have their dietary needs taken care of.
Yeah,
Make
so
sure they have candy,
there's
just
a
the
lot.
right amount of candy and the correct colors in the green room. Yeah, I get it.
And
this works.
there is always one or two past masters
Mm-hmm.
that like to pretend like we haven't been doing this for 10 years.
Right.
I don't know what to do. You didn't tell me what to do. And it's
You're-
like you've
You're
literally
a
done
past
this
leader
role,
of your lodge. You can figure it out.
and you've
for
done the
yourself.
same role at the same degree for at least the last 5 years. So
Right.
stop it. And I have a very low tolerance for things like that. So I'm getting a bit perturbed, even angry. And
Rare.
were you master at the time?
No. I
Senior
was,
warden?
I was junior warden.
Oh, junior ward. That's right, because you were doing the kitchen with brother Craig Gray and
Yeah,
Charlie.
Brother Craig Gray, yeah.
So, brother Mark comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, come for a walk with me." I'm like, "What? What's going on?" He goes, "Craig and I, who's another brother who's also a cop, we're watching you.
And we know when you're gonna snap.
You're about to pop."
Yeah.
Yeah, not the
And we're actually having a conversation going. Is Joe about to pop? I think
Yeah.
Joe's about to pop.
Just gonna pop.
I'm like, "What? I'm not even talking to anybody." And it's like, "What'd you say?" "I'm a trained observer."
trained observer.
A trained observer.
It's like that scene in The Matrix where like Keanu Reeves is like freaking out because he
out.
knows the truth.
But to me, I was holding it in well.
Oh, no, you weren't.
Well, to me, I was.
To you, yeah. Well, everyone else
Body
didn't think
language
you,
was
everyone
obvious.
else thought you were too because they kept pushing your buttons.
Because they're not trained observers.
Oh my God! I never seen he was getting pushed his button so much. You could have made a complaint.
They just want to see him pop.
There's some people that just want to watch the world burn.
That
But
is
exactly
I always
true.
that like broke all of the tension that I had. It was like, I'm a trained observer.
Like, no, I'm fine. I'm like, no. I'm not. No, you're not. Yeah,
So
I'm
I
sure
laughed, and it actually made the day better. But it's just that whole experience.
You became conscious of it at that point, right? That's something. At least
Yeah,
you can,
but
like,
just the
reflect
way
on
he
it and be
said,
like,
so
"Eh,
matter
I
of
am
fact,
pissed off."
I'm like, I'm fine. I'm not pissed off. And he's like, I'm a trained observer. Like it was kind of sarcastic but funny, very lighthearted. So that actually brought me back from the brink that day. So. Funny story that I wanted to share.
That's
but,
good. Nobody ever wants to see Joe angry, man. Demons run when a good man.
It's
goes to
actually
war.
not. It's not a pretty
seen
thing
it.
when
I've never seen it.
It's not good.
I've seen him get a
try
little
to
bit
hold it in.
heated about like people in the Dunkin' Donuts parking lot.
No, he
Oh, that was
he
the
got
shit.
so angry
That's
one
like-
night at actually one of our brothers, that he woke up, got out of took his pajamas off, and drove over to the lodge. And I'm like, now you guys did it.
Wow. You got out of bed to go to the
Came,
lodge.
oh yeah.
That's the truth. Yeah.
Wow.
And they left the key in the front door, and I took it out of the front door and threw it at him.
Wow. Oh,
and then
I
the,
think
and
we
then the
talked
brother
about
goes, "How did you get in? You jackasses! You had the
left the
doors
key in the
wide
door."
open, you dummy."
that. Wow.
Yeah, that was. And then one brother's like, "Let's hug it out," and I'm like, "If you can touch me right now."
In my jammies? How dare you?
His sleep cap on.
Yeah. But all right, brothers, let's wrap it up.
Yeah, we're good here.
For the Freemasons podcast, Worshipful Brother Joe signing off.
And Worshipful Brother Ken signing off.
And worship brother Mark Zuccerella. I don't know.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, and thank Mark for joining us as well.